Most Canadians spend decades saving for retirement, but when it comes to living off those savings, the rules completely change. The sole focus can no longer be growth. It's about turning your investments into tax-efficient, reliable investments that last the rest of your life. And this is where I see people make the biggest mistake. Traditional investment advice does not prepare you for the decumulation phase. In the accumulation years, the goal is simple: save consistently, invest wisely, grow that nest egg. But as you enter retirement, you're faced with an entirely new set of challenges. How much can you safely withdraw? Which accounts should you draw down first? Your RRSP, TFSA, or non-registered? When should you start the Canada pension plan and old age savings? And how do you manage taxes, clawbacks, and estate planning along the way? If those questions aren't answered with a plan, you're likely eroding your wealth without even realizing it. So let's talk about the hidden risks in retirement income. When it comes down to risk, market risk is considered the main focus, but there are other critical risks that retirees face. Let's start with the first key market-related risk that few investors understand, which is called sequence of return risk. If markets drop early in your retirement and you're drawing an income, you can deplete your portfolio much faster than expected. Two retirees with the same investment portfolio can have drastically different retirement outcomes depending on when they retire and depending if one retires with a poor market and one retires with a good market. Number two is going to be tax drags and clawbacks. Without proper planning and looking at your broader context, you can draw down your investments in the wrong account order. That can push you into higher tax brackets, trigger OAS clawback, and potentially miss tax opportunities to use low-income years strategically. The third is the estate tax bomb. When you have two spouses, the second death, RSPs are fully taxable to the estate. Without proper planning, a $1 million RSP can shrink by 40 to 50% overnight due to taxes. Number four is longevity and inflation. If you're lucky, your retirement can last 30 years or more. That's why you need a plan that balances security for your lifestyle expenses today, as well as growth for your purchasing power into the future. So let's talk about the evidence, because this isn't just theory, the research is clear. Morningstar's Gamma research study shows that sustainable retirement income planning can increase retirement income by almost 22 to 29%. Financial Planning Canada found that Canadians with a written financial plan are twice as confident and resilient through market volatility, in contrast to those that don't have one. And countless academic studies that can be found on SSRN consistently show that coordinated retirement income strategies add more value than chasing higher investment performance. It's not just about being in the markets, it's about structuring retirement income to avoid mistakes that can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is the approach that a total wealth strategy takes to retirement income and decumulation. It starts with withdrawal sequencing mapping, and that's understanding what you need and looking at all your different accounts and looking at the most tax-efficient way to draw them down over time. Then we layer in CPP and OAS optimization modeling to help you understand the best time to start CPP to make sure you get the maximum lifetime value after taxes. Then there's other tax management strategies like taking advantage of low-income years, harvesting capital gains and losses, or even income smoothing. Then, depending on your situation, there's also risk buffering, which is essentially having 1 to 2 years in safe assets to avoid selling during a down market. And then ultimately estate integration, making sure that your RSPs, TFSAs, non-registered, or even corporate holdings flow through to your beneficiaries in the most tax-efficient way possible. This isn't just a one-time decision where you set it and forget it for the rest of your life. It's an ongoing process to make sure that you get the most of this over your life. Make sure you integrate it with your tax plan, your investment plan, and your estate plan. So let's talk about a real-life client case study. I was working with a couple who were both 65, had $1.2 million between RSPs, TFSAs, and some corporate investments. Without proper planning, they likely would have just withdrawn from their RSPs, pushing them into a higher tax bracket, accelerating their OAS clawback, and likely leaving them with a higher estate tax liability. With proper planning, we were able to smooth their income between their RSPs and their non-registered, reducing their estate tax liability while giving them the income they need to live their life, deferring CPP and OAS to age 70, giving them a higher guaranteed income for life, maximize their TFSAs to shelter growth, and coordinated with their accountant to look for the best strategy to withdraw from their corporation, whether it was dividend or salary. The outcome: more predictable income, lower lifetime taxes, a larger estate, and a better plan. Now, many people still have investment-only advice, and this is where it fails. If you're working with an advisor and you're only focused on investment returns, this is what you're missing out on. Understanding which accounts your money withdraws from and making sure that it's as tax efficient as possible, how to minimize lifetime taxes, being confident about having enough money to last the rest of your life, and then having a clear understanding about what happens to your net estate after you pass. Because this isn't an investment problem, it's a planning problem. And that's what the total wealth strategy is here to solve. So if you're approaching retirement, or if you're already retired, let me ask you this. Do you know how much you can safely withdraw each year so that it'll last you the rest of your life? Do you know which accounts to tap first and the tax impact? Do you know what your net estate tax bill will look like? If not, you have a planning gap, and here's how to fix it. First is going to be to download my free retirement roadmap. This will help you understand how to spot the gaps in your current strategy. Second, if you've identified gaps, book a discovery call with me, and I'll help make sure you have a personalized decumulation strategy that will last you for the rest of your life. Because when it comes to retirement, it's not just about having a pool of money that you saved. It's about making sure you have a strategy that gives you clarity, confidence, and peace of mind.